The reading this week will continue in the book of 1 Kings, chapters 15 through 19. The devotions posted this week for the chapter read are so worthwhile for you. Please check them out. They bring our focus back to our God, who He is, and the fact that He just wants us to love Him, obey Him, follow Him, and respect Him. Biblical Shakers. The reading of 1 Kings can be very confusing and difficult at times to understand, with two kingdoms, Israel and Judah, and many kings coming to power, some for a long time and some for a very short time. There were not many good kings. Many did evil in the sight of the Lord, for they went to idol worship. I have added a timeline of the king's reign for both areas. You will have to enlarge it, but hopefully that will aid in the reading of the 15th and the 16th chapters. The prophet Elijah comes into this story in chapter 17 and was the first in a long line of important prophets God sent to Israel and Judah. Israel had no faithful kings throughout history. Each of them led their people into worshiping pagan gods. Most of the priests in Judah also had fled, so with no godly king or priest to bring God's words to these people, God called prophets to try to rescue Israel and Judah from their spiritual decline. Now enters Elijah, who told King Ahab, an idol-worshiping king, that there would be no rain for several years. He bravely confronted the man who led his people into evil ways, and he also announced to him a power far greater than any pagan god. The story in this chapter definitely shows you that the power and the presence of our God was with Elijah. We need to be sure we trust the provider and not the provision. Instead of worshiping the true God, King Ahab and his wife Jezebel worshiped Baal. Elijah invited the king and all his 850 pagan prophets to Mount Carmel to match wits and power, their God against Elijah's God. In chapter 17, you will read about the showdown. Elijah proved to this evil king that only the Lord is God. What a miracle was seen along with the death of all Ahab's prophets. Although we might wish to do some amazing miracles for God, we should instead focus on developing a relationship with Him. The real miracle of Elijah's life was his very personal relationship with God. And that miracle is available to us also. After killing Baal's prophets, Elijah ran from the furious Queen Jezebel and returned to the sacred place where God had met Moses and had given his laws to the people. At this time, Elijah thought he was the only person left who was still true to God. He forgot that others had remained faithful during the nation's wickedness, along with the fact that his God would never forsake him. When you feel alone and are seeking God to help you, do not forget to look for Him, even in the smallest of ways, as He appeared to Elijah in chapter 19. God was with His people centuries ago, and He remains faithful to us today. We read some amazing stories this week and ended with Elijah placing the cloak around Elisha's shoulders. What will happen next? You'll have to check in and see next week, because Biblical Shakers makes reading the Bible way more enjoyable for you. And I pray that the Lord would put a hunger on your heart.